The Powell family seemed to be, to those on the outside at least, a wholesome, loving family. Susan Powell was a full-time broker for Wells Fargo Bank, and her husband Josh had a business degree and worked for various companies. And together they were raising their 2 children. However, Susan would suddenly go missing on December the 6th, 2009. And when police found Susan's phone in her husband's car with the SIM card removed alongside shovels, tarps, gas canisters and a generator, that illusion of the perfect family would be shattered. And with the evidence mounting against her husband Josh, he would take drastic action to get away with murder. Hello, everybody. I am Dom.
And I'm Amy.
And we are very, very glad that you're here with us this week. We are eternally grateful for all of your support. We love you. We appreciate you. You're awesome. You're sexy. You're scintillating. You are amazing. Amy, it's been a few weeks. How are you doing, my love?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you for asking. And that was a lovely introduction. I'm not sure all of our listeners are all of those things.
Of course they are.
Are they?
Of course.
Okay. Most of them are. Some more than others. Sure.
Touchig, don't listen to her. You're all of those things.
As if that's who I'm talking about. How do you know? You don't know anything. No, I am good. It has been a few weeks because you've been off jet setting and creating content elsewhere without me. So, yeah. Whose fault is it that it's been a few weeks?
Yeah, I'm branched off from Amy. She was quite bitter about it. Bless her.
Yeah.
She's not spoke to me at all actually in those 2 weeks that I've been away.
No, just completely blanked you. I just, floated all your messages. Completely ignored it. It was mostly jealousy, to be honest.
Oh dear.
Fine. It's fine. It's fine. I'm over it, all right?
Well,
Drop it.
I did say that I would sneak you in somehow, and you were like, no.
I don't want to be snuck.
So
I don't want to be snuck.
I don't want to be snuck.
Yeah, I just want to stroll in like I own the place, and it's all be fine. But yeah,
like, look,
it's cool.
Me and Mickey go way back.
Don't worry.
I own
Guys,
you.
I'm friends with the mouse, all right? Chill out. Yeah.
Oh dear.
But no, it's been weird. It was very weird last week not recording. Like I kind of got to Tuesday night and went, so now what?
What do I do?
What do I even do? I'd love to say I did something productive, but I didn't at all. I just stayed home and, do what I normally do when I'm home alone.
I'll leave that to the viewer's imagination. I mean, they can probably guess what that is.
Not that, you sicko.
Okay.
I ordered a pizza. Don't know what you think I meant. Rude.
I already did that like
weird.
10 times before I ordered the pizza.
Yeah, exactly. How do you think I passed the day? But yeah, it was very weird. So I'm very glad to be back and recording again. And it's, from what you've told me, going to be a good, what you've told me, which is very, very little. I think it's going to be a good episode.
For the people on Spotify, I'm currently wearing my Disneyland Paris Spirit jersey, and I've been living in it since I got back. That's very subversive to the topic at hand, because it's not bright and cheery.
No.
This guy is not a good man. He's by the end of this episode, you are going to detest this person for his crimes. I'll try not to get too in my feelings at the end. We'll see.
Okay. Ooh,
we'll
interesting.
See. I might go on quite a few rants at the end of this, but we shall see.
Okay.
We shall see.
I feel like I'm usually the ranter, so that'll be interesting.
Yeah,
Um,
I think you're
yeah.
going to be the piece, the the sort of calming one on this
Oh, I
week's
have never
episode. I
been
think I
that in
might get
any
a bit ranty.
situation, so I don't know how I'm
True.
gonna handle that one. I'll try. I'll do my best, but we'll see how that goes.
So, Ames, do you have any true crime news for us for this week?
Yes, I do indeed. I have a piece of true crime news that, as always, I've found in plenty of time.
Absolutely.
Skeletal remains found on Florida beach traced to woman last seen in 1968 with killer boyfriend.
I'm
my true
not
crime.
laughing at that sort of
No, I should hope
subject
not.
matter. I've just this. Whenever we need anything, it's like, right, Florida, cool. Give me what you
Yeah,
got.
do you know what? We always rely on Florida man. This case is, I didn't choose it for that. It just happens to be in Florida. It was a complete accident. But
Even when we're not looking for Florida, Florida's like, you know what? I've got you. I've got you guys.
Yeah, right. It's I picked it because it's very rare that a victim's remains are identified almost 5 decades after they were initially found.
True.
That's insane.
Very
That's
true.
a stupid amount of time.
Very, very
so
true.
I thought, blimey, we need to dig into that a bit more.
Blimey.
So, a Florida Sheriff's Office recently announced that it has identified the victim in a homicide case nearly 4 decades, although I'm pretty sure it's nearly 5 decades. So 68, 78, 88, 98, 2008, 2018. Yeah, so it's nearly 5 decades.
It's nearly
Nearly 6.
Yeah.
So
nearly
I don't know
6 decades, yeah.
where they've gone off this. Unless it's, I don't know. We'll find out. Nearly 4 decades after the investigation went cold. The St. Johns County Sheriff's Office said in a May 8th press release that human remains were found in a shallow grave on Crescent Beach in April 1985. That'll be why. So it's 5 decades, not 6.
Got you. Yeah, got you.
Crescent Beach is located around 50 miles south of Jacksonville, Florida. The initial investigation revealed the victim was a white female, possibly between the ages of 30 and 50 at the time of her death. Due to the circumstances, the manner of death was determined to be homicide. After years of efforts to advance the case, the remains were sent to Othram. We're going to go with it. Othram, a private forensics lab in 2023. Leads were developed and investigators visited potential relatives and collected samples. The remains were identified as Mary Alice Pultz in January 2024.
That's crazy.
I mean, not a lot you can do about it at that point. But for the family to have their family member identified as a murder victim, because presumably they just thought she was missing. So to have her found and identified and have her body after all this time, well, not much of a body, obviously, going to be, pretty much gone. But have something to bury after almost 50 years is pretty insane.
Yeah, and obviously it gives them the closure that they've been waiting, decades for. And I think that's going to be, extremely important to them, obviously, because, yes, it's not what they would want in a perfect world, but at least now they know, and now they have some closure, and they can remember her. But that's crazy. It always sort of boggles my mind when there are cases from 20, 30 years ago that just go cold, and then just out of the blue one day they're like, okay, we've solved it. Like we've got remains, or we've got DNA, or we've got this, and it's like, man, that's insane.
Like, I mean, I don't think it's something that happens often. Like, for that amount of time to have passed, I don't think it's often that those cases then suddenly become solved. But it's like we were talking about when we did the episode on, crap, I've forgotten his name, but the little boy that went missing at the lake.
Bobby Dunbar.
You've got such a good memory. See, this is why I keep you around. Um,
I mean, I've got a good memory for things that are not particularly important.
this is important.
Important things I don't
You
remember
can't say on a true crime
at all.
podcast that the names of true crime cases aren't important.
I know,
But yeah,
I meant like
Bobby Dunbar.
like
He obviously he went missing, and his parents, his family, just never knew what happened to him. And there's
Mhm.
probably a good chance now that no one ever will. Like the extended family that are still, they're never gonna know what happened to that kid. But this family, Mary Alice Pultz's family, it's really hard to say when you
Yeah.
post. They have had closure that they probably thought they were never going to get. I'm not being funny, but anyone after 40 years has given hope that they're going to find out what happened. So the fact that the police had to knock
I
on
would
their
say
door
so.
and be like, by the way, we found her. Obviously not in the way that you would have hoped, but we've found her body and we've confirmed this is who it is. That's probably a lot of different emotions to be told.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah, absolutely. But yeah, thank you for that true crime news update, Amy. Before we get stuck into the episode at hand, do you know anything about Susan Powell or Josh Powell?
I'm going to do that thing
you
that
heard
I
of the
always do
names?
when you ask me that question, which is completely unuseful, and I fully appreciate
Okay.
unuseful. I recognise the name, but that's about it. I feel like as you tell the story, I'm going to be like, oh yeah, that's the one. But currently it's only the name that stands. So yeah, I'm intrigued to learn more.
Well, you're definitely going to know a little bit more about old Josh Powell. So
that sounded weird.
Are you ready to? It did.
You're going to get to know him real well.
You're going to get to know Josh real well.
It's kind of starting to sound like Josh Powell is the nickname you've given your penis.
I don't actually have a nickname for my penis, to be honest. I'm
so glad you said that. I thought you were going to say I don't actually have a penis. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe that's a poll we could put up. We can put up a poll in the horror house story. What should Dom nickname his penis? We'll come up with a few ideas and, vote down below.
I'll let you put that story up.
Yeah? You heard it here, folks. Everyone heard that. That's on record. I'm allowed to come up with a few options for nicknames for Dom's penis, and you're allowed to choose.
Yeah, I'll let you do that.
And you're sticking to it. And you have to introduce it to any lady friends as the nickname that we choose. That's the deal.
Okay.
I'll make them nice names. Don't worry. I'm not going to
I'm sure you. Yeah,
they're going to be great. Oh, I'm so excited.
I'm sure you will. Tiny McTiny is going to be like the leading one.
No, I'm nice. I'm a nice co-host. I want to I'm going to wing woman you. It's going to be fine. I'm going to come up with some great names, and the listeners aren't going to do you dirty. They're going to pick the best one.
Okay.
This is not where I thought this episode would go.
In our listeners. Yeah, this is taking a turn. And back to Josh. I would not want to call my penis Josh Powell after finding out what this guy did. I think it would be the last thing that I'd want to call my penis. To be honest.
Okay.
So anyway, let's talk about this.
Let's move on.
Waste of oxygen. So Joshua Powell was born on January the 20th, 1976 in Puyallup, I believe it's pronounced, or Puyallup or Puyallup or something. Washington to Stephen and Teresa Powell. He had two brothers, Michael and John, two sisters, Jennifer and Elena. The Powell household was extremely dysfunctional due to his father's abusive behavior and disaffection with the Church of Jesus Christ of the Latter-day Saints. According to Tarika's divorce proceedings from 1992. Josh's father, Stephen, had shared pornography with his sons and refused to teach or enforce boundaries on certain behaviors. As a teenager, Joshua allegedly killed one of his sister's gerbils and threatened his mother with a butcher's knife. He also tried to commit suicide at least once. So there's a lot of stuff going on there.
I mean, we're starting strong. There's a lot of things you should share with your kids. There's a lot of things that, you know, you can use as tools to teach them that sharing is good and fun. Porn wouldn't be top of that list. And that's Amy's parenting top tip number 1. Not that I'm a parent.
Don't share.
But don't share your porn with your kids. I feel like it should go without saying, and yet apparently it needs saying.
Yeah. I mean, you shouldn't have to like explain that to someone as to why you shouldn't do it. It should be quite clear.
Quite
and
obvious.
It's also just a weird. And it's also just an odd thing to do. I wouldn't want to watch porn with my dad. That would just be a bit weird, to be honest.
I might watch porn with your dad.
That's the last person I'd want to watch porn with.
Sorry, I'm making it weird.
Like,
no.
Yeah,
it's like
strange.
when you're just watching a normal movie with your parents and a sex scene comes on, it's a bit like, oh God, no, I need to leave, or you need to leave, or something needs to happen here because we can't keep doing this. So watching hardcore backdoor action might not be backdoor, might be front door. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what door. None of the doors are good doors to be watching with your parents.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Like when I was a kid, you know, even just watching a film and, you know, there was a kissing scene, I'll just be like dying of embarrassment. Like I'll just be like, man, I wish I could be anywhere else other than here right now.
Isn't that a like?
So I can't imagine
a song or something, or someone's song. It's a someone's song, and I really
potentially
wish I could be somewhere else. It is a song. I know it's a song.
I mean, whose ever song it was, it was accurate. So I can't even imagine like sitting there with my dad and just watching like someone absolutely split someone else in two. I'd be like, oof.
Good God. No, thank you.
Right?
This
son,
is really going to put me off my porn later if we're not careful.
Hey, son, do you want to watch Anal Acrobats with me? Not really, Dad, to be honest with you, mate.
Anal Acrobats. I'm not going to lie, Dom. You came up with that a bit quick.
It's like my go-to sort of, if I'm like using some porn example, I'm like, always, Anal Acrobats is always the one that comes to mind, and I don't know why.
Mine's always Backdoor Sluts. It's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. It is, isn't it?
I wonder what that says. I wonder what Freud would have to say on that one.
But it's just strange. Like, watch porn with your wife. Like, why are you watching it with your kids? Like, what's wrong with you, Stephen? Come on, man.
Just I mean, like, we're focusing on entirely the wrong bit.
We are.
But, yeah. Don't kill gerbils either. That's mean.
Yeah. Or threaten your mum with a butcher knife.
And don't kill yourself.
Anything, any of everything in those first 2 bullet points. Don't. Those
are don'ts.
Stephen and Joshua, like either of you, don't.
Just don't do those things.
So it will kind of become a little bit more clear later on as to why Stephen sort of watched porn with his kids, or might be there might be something more than that, or more to it. But that will be uncovered a little bit later on. So Susan Marie Cox, who was obviously Josh's eventual wife, was born on October the 16th, 1981 in Alamogordo, I believe, New Mexico, and grew up in Puyallup, Washington as well. She was 18 years old and studying cosmetology when she met Josh at a dinner party at his Tacoma flat in November 2000. Josh and Susan were devoted members of the Church of Jesus Christ of the Latter-day Saints, who enrolled in an Institute of Religion course for which he hosted a dinner. And that's where they first met. The two were smitten pretty quickly, and Josh would propose to Susan within days of them meeting, which never ends well. I don't know why people do this. It seems that every time we do, I don't know, like, I mean,
It's
fair.
very
I do know people that
romantic.
got married very quickly.
It's very romantic that
Yeah,
people see each
yeah.
other and are like, that's the one. That's the one right there. I'm having that one. And then within a few days,
I'm having that.
I'm having that one. I'm having me a bit of that.
I'm having that one.
I'm
I'm having
that
you. Oh, she's going right in my basket.
one. I'm popping her right in my basket. I know a few success stories but generally not a good idea. Like, you're gonna want to delve a bit into their background. What if you end up with a Bundy? It's not the way to go.
Exactly. You know, and you know, to your point, I know people that have got married very quickly, and you know, they've had a very strong marriage, and
Yeah.
you know, there's been no signs that they're, you know, not going to work. It just seems like, in the context that we talk about, whenever this happens, it never ends well. Like, every time we talk about a case where there's been like a quick marriage, it's kind of, it's not really worked.
I don't necessarily think that's related to the quick marriage side of things. I think it's because we talk about a lot of people that kill other people.
Yeah, true.
We can't confirm that that's the correlation. If you've gotten married quickly, we're not calling you a killer. If you're a killer, we're not accusing you of getting married quickly. The two aren't related.
I'm just saying that every time when it does come up, more often than not, it either ends in divorce or it ends in other things. But hey ho.
What do we know? Us couple of unmarried 30-somethings.
We're just 20-something. We're just humble. What? That was directed at you as well. I'm not being like, I'm the 20-something and you're the 30-something. We're both 20-somethings, guys.
I don't think anyone's fallen.
I'm not that horrible.
20s, mate. Like, that's just gone.
Like, I know that I joke that you're closer to 40 than I am, but still.
Yeah, which really isn't fair because it's by very little. Like, not enough.
I know, it's literally
months.
4 months.
You're so much closer to 40 than I am. Yeah, no, I'm not. Not really. But if it makes you feel better, then keep going. It's fine. I'll let you have it.
I know. I'm going to be Amy's age in like 3 months' time. It's disgusting. And
then you'll feel different. Things like you didn't even know you had.
I'll wake up. I'll be like, oh, is this what Amy feels like every morning? Oh, God, the pain.
Pretty much, yeah, but my back aches more.
On April the 6th, 2001, Josh and Susan would marry at the LDS, so Church of Latter-day Saints, Portland, Oregon Temple. Of course they would. They would have 2 children, Charles, born in 2005, and Braden, born in 2007. And they would eventually relocate to West Valley City, Utah, which is a suburb of Salt Lake City.
Salt Lake City.
Salt Lake.
Sorry, that was
Mormon Paradise
from Book of Mormon there. I can't. If you've seen Book of Mormon, if you haven't seen Book of Mormon, go see Book of Mormon. If you have seen Book of Mormon, I'll stop saying Book of Mormon. But if you haven't seen it, it's so good. Go do that. But now I can't hear Salt Lake City without hearing the song Salt Lake City.
Okay.
So
I haven't seen it. I've seen, I think there was like some sort of like movie award thing. And they did like the sort of opening song where like they ring the doorbells and they're trying to sort of prophesize and everyone keeps like shutting them out.
Hello.
That's it.
My name is Elder Grant. Yeah,
so
great.
That's
There's
yeah.
been a lot of me
So I've
singing
said
this
that's
episode.
all I've
Sorry,
seen from
listeners.
Book of Mormon.
I'm sorry. It's not my strong point, really. I will stop eventually. But yeah, I do recommend it. It's very good. You'd love it.
Oh, I
There's
do.
a lot of blasphemy. It's great.
Oh, I love that.
We all do.
The non-religious Dom is gleefully jumping for joy. It's been on my list for a while, to be honest. Isn't it made by the same people that created South Park as well?
It is. Yeah, it is. Oh, it's not for kids. Like, it's not a musical that you're going to want to take the kids to. And I'm pretty sure it's in the US as well. So if you're in America, go to Broadway or I don't know, wherever you guys go for your plays and see it.
New York City.
Go
and watch it.
City. Yeah. Sorry, this is a complete tangent. Please, on with the story.
For a brief time before Josh and Susan would move to Salt Lake City, they would live with Stephen Powell, obviously Josh's father. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately for Susan, this would be a turbulent time, to say the least. And why would this be a turbulent time? Because Stephen Powell was a dirty old bastard. That is why.
It's not cool.
Oh, God is right, Amy. Oh, God is right. So Stephen became just a little bit infatuated with Susan, who I want to emphasize is his daughter-in-law at this point, following her around the house with a camcorder, spying on her in the bathroom with a little mirror, stealing her underwear from her laundry, reading her writings, and posting love songs online under a pseudonym. Stephen professed his romantic feelings towards Susan, again, who is his daughter-in-law, who rejected him, obviously. The interaction, I know, right? And this interaction was actually accidentally recorded by Stephen's camcorder microphone. So him getting rejected by his daughter-in-law was recorded on his microphone, unbeknownst to him. So yeah, Stephen's just a little bit of a dirty old man. Dirty old man.
That's not good. I mean, I guess technically, and I do mean this very technically, it's not bad.
It's not technically incest.
It's not illegal.
It's also...
It's just creepy.
It's not illegal.
I don't know.
Morally, there's
it's a bit weird. Like, in the past, I've had some boyfriends and, like, I've gone down to meet the parents and all that, and the dad's a bit, like, looking,
Yeah.
You just get that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no old
creep vibe.
But, not to the extent that they're following me around with camcorders or anything. That's a bit much. Oh, no.
Yeah, he's a bit of a bit grotty.
Yeah, it's a bit gross.
And that is a mere appetizer. That is a mere nibble, a mere starter on just how an amuse-bouche on just how bad of a man Stephen Powell
my
would
bouche
turn
is
out to be. Your bouche is amused. So yeah, that is merely the start. There is more of Stephen being a dirty old man, which we will get to in due time.
I'm going all weird. I'm doing like a physical cringe.
The cringe has now come out into physical cringe.
Crept into me, and not in the fun way.
So, as I said, in 2004, the family would move to Salt Lake City. However, it was not marital bliss for Susan and Josh. Josh had demonstrated possessiveness in a previous relationship. Catherine Terry Everett, Josh's ex-girlfriend, had nearly fled the actual state to break up with him over the phone because of his behavior. And that possessiveness would start to rear its head yet again. So Josh's refusal to attend church services with his family, as well as his persistent contact with Stephen, despite his father's ongoing efforts to like woo his wife and also Stephen's daughter-in-law, would understandably cause a little bit of friction. I don't have this in my notes, but I think when I think Susan told Josh about the incident, of Stephen recording her and stealing underwear and stuff. And I think Josh's response was essentially, "Oh, that's just my dad."
God. Well, that's not good, is it?
So she probably wasn't. No,
I'm gonna call a family meeting.
Pleased.
We've got a few points to cover. Number 1, who's going to put the bins out?
Yeah.
Number 2, Dad, stop fucking my wife. Number 2, there's 2 number 2s. Yeah, no, that's not
2 number 2s.
There's a lot of things.
What a response.
You can be like, oh, that's just Dad. Don't worry about like.
Yeah.
Oh, he doesn't like to throw his papers out. Don't worry about it. That's just Dad.
Yeah.
He's trying to fuck my wife. Not so much.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not just a dad. That's not just something you go, oh, okay. What a cheeky chappy. No. Just pop it back in.
What a response. What a response.
To your
I
wife
love it.
as well.
Susan's like,
can you imagine? She went to him and was like, listen, I really need to tell you something is really important. Like, I don't even know how to express this, but your dad, I caught him filming me and like peeping on me in the shower,
taking my thongs out the laundry and fucking
he's been stealing my underwear
like...
and he's written songs about me and posted them online. And your husband, his response is, it's just Dad in it, don't worry. Just sling him the odd pair of knickers, keep him happy.
I mean, I think I would, that would be like, I'll just divorce right there and then. I wouldn't even like try and, I'll just be like, well, I think I know how this is going to go. So it's probably best that we just call it now. But yeah, it's a pretty amazing response. Your wife's like, your dad's a bit of a fucking creep, Josh. Like, he's stealing my underwear. He's said he wants to have sex with me and he loves me and all this stuff. And Josh's response is just like, oh, Dad, stop being a scamp. Oh, you're terrible. Oh, God, Stephen. So Susan's acquaintances also complained about Joshua's, quote, extremely controlling behavior towards his wife and his lavish spending habits. For example, Josh would file for bankruptcy in 2007, reporting over $200,000 in debts. So by summer 2008, Susan was essentially a prisoner in her own marriage and her Utah home. Josh would tell her exactly what she could buy and where she could buy it. She was prohibited from making any purchases without his permission, and he would sell the family's car. So in July, Susan would record a video taking stock of all their household belongings and documenting damage done by Josh. A friend would encourage her to seek the advice of a divorce lawyer, but she was understandably worried that Josh would take the children and she would never see them again. She would also write a secret will, which investigators discovered after she would go missing. The will would state, quote, "I want it documented that there is extreme turmoil in our marriage. If I die, it may not be an accident, even if it looks like one." So she obviously, is sort of worst case scenario is on her mind, which is very unfortunate that she would even feel like she had to write that out. And unfortunately, over a year later, Susan Powell would indeed go missing, and all signs would point to her husband Josh being the reason why. But before we go into those signs, we're going to take a quick break. Amy, what do you think?
I've got a lot to think about.
Yeah.
And not think about. Some things I'm not going to think about.
Yeah, some things I don't think anyone wants to think about, Stephen, to be honest.
Yeah.
But before we get to part 2, we're going to take a quick break and we'll see you back here in a few moments. Welcome back, everybody, to this week's episode, part 2 of the Susan Powell family tragedy, which it definitely turns into one. Amy, what do you think of part 1? And Josh and his creepy ass dad?
Yeah. Just a bit of a weird family, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like sometimes you go out with someone and then they're completely fine, and then you meet their family and you're like, the fuck? But this is just everyone in the family is the fuck. So I feel a bit sorry for Susan that she didn't see. This is why you don't marry fast. Just give it a few months. Meet the family first so that you can see what kind of man is raising your future husband. If that man, most importantly, tries to fuck you, maybe think again about whether or not you want to marry the son, because if he's backing it up, probably not a keeper.
Yeah, exactly. As we said, he didn't sound particularly concerned about his father's actions towards Susan, did he?
His response was one step away from, go and just give him one. Just a pity fuck.
Yeah, pretty much. If
you just bash one out for him,
also said
he'll leave you alone.
We also said during the break, it's like when you go to your grandparents' house and your granddad said something horrifically racist or horrifically homophobic.
Yeah.
And then grandma's just like, oh, granddad is just being granddad. Oh, Terry, what you like? It's like, well, nice.
Like?
It's because he's racist.
Yeah. What you're like, Terry, is horrifically racist, which is not okay.
Yeah. No. So yeah, it's not a great family dynamic. Are you ready to continue?
Yeah, I think I'm ready.
Okay. What an episode to come back with after a week.
I know, right? We leave you for a break for a week, and then we're like, boom, creepy stepdad. He's not even a stepdad. Creepy real dad.
Creepy stepdad.
Yep.
Creepy real dad. So yes. Susan, Charles, and Braden would go to church on Sunday morning, which was December the 6th, 2009. A neighbour would pay a visit to the home that afternoon and left at 5 p.m. This would be the last time anyone outside of the family would see Susan Powell. The next morning, her children did not show up for daycare and the staff were unable to reach Susan or Josh. So when the workers contacted Josh's mother and sister to inform them of the children's absence, Josh's mother immediately contacted the police. When West Valley City Police Detective Ellis Maxwell arrived at the Powell family home at about 10 a.m. on December the 7th, he would find Susan's belongings, no signs of forced entry, and 2 fans blowing at a suspicious wet area on the carpet.
We've all been there.
Josh would return home with his children. I mean, maybe. Maybe. I don't use fans, but hey ho.
I know what you're missing.
Claiming to have gone camping along the Pony Express Trail in western Utah. On December the 10th, police would search the area but discovered no sign of this alleged camping site that Josh would state. Investigators would also find a number of tools in the car and considered it dubious that Josh would take his young boys camping in blizzard conditions after midnight on a school night. Obviously, without a body, however, the Salt Lake County District Attorney would refuse to charge anyone in connection with Susan's disappearance. However, Josh was very much a person of interest, and suspicion would eventually start to rise, which is understandable considering there was a number of tools in the car, and it's quite odd to take your children camping in blizzard conditions randomly after midnight.
Yeah. Although, I don't
there's
know,
a
he
few
strikes me
things
as one
that
of
are a
those
bit
parents
suspicious.
that's a bit like, son, you need to build character. We're going camping in a blizzard, because that'll do it.
Maybe.
I had to watch porn with my dad. You're going to go camping in a blizzard, you little shit.
Yeah, true. Just ignore the shovels in the car and the tarp and your mum's phone and
My
all
hard
of that
on.
stuff. Yeah, just ignore that. Yeah. So when authorities would search the Powell residence on December the 9th, they would discover traces of Susan's blood on the floor, $1.5 million worth of life insurance policies on Susan, and a handwritten note from Susan expressing concern for her life, which is the handwritten note that we talked about earlier,
Okay.
where she said, if I do die and it looks like an accident, it probably isn't. So, like, taking young boys camping, I suppose that could be a character building thing.
Yeah.
But when you start, discovering life insurance policies, especially $1.5 million worth of life insurance policies on Susan, that would set alarm bells very much ringing. And the handwritten note, of course, also adds credence to that.
Yeah. Although, would they be able to... I mean, I don't expect you to be able to answer this. I don't know. But would they be able to claim the life insurance if there was no body? Because wasn't this a thing, okay, this is completely unrelated, but when Carol Baskin's husband went missing, she was only able to get the money because of a clause in his will that was like really obscure and no one had ever seen, that said something like, in the event of my death or disappearance. But that's not common. So I thought to claim life insurance, you have to have a death certificate, and you can't have a death certificate without a body.
Maybe.
I mean, obviously, because he's probably going to cash in any second, but still.
I'm not sure. Josh would hire a lawyer on December the 14th in relation to the inquiry regarding his missing wife. And according to the police, he had become less and less cooperative. A few days later, Josh would drive his sons to Puyallup to spend the Christmas time with Stephen. Seems like a great person to be leaving your kids with.
Brilliant. Oh God, we're off to
yeah.
Make sure you wear 3 pairs of trousers.
Okay. Exactly. And speaking of Stephen, in 2011, he would tell ABC News about the alleged sexual advances Susan made towards him, of all people.
Cheeky motherfucker.
Quote, Susan... I know, right? Quote, Susan was very, very sexual with me. She was very flirtatious, Susan Powell told ABC News. We interacted in a lot of sexual ways because Susan enjoys doing that. I enjoy doing that. End quote.
Ugh.
It's disgusting, isn't it? Oh, God.
Yeah, I don't know what else to say.
Like...
I can only make noises now, apparently. But that's not...
I hope no one's Yeah, I hope no one's eating while they're watching / listening to this. Because that would be enough to bring up my dinner, I think. Yeah, apologies. And why do I bring that up? You ask. One, because, as I say, Stephen is a dirty, dirty old man, but also because very shortly after this ABC News interview, Utah police would search the Powell family home in Puyallup. I think I'm butchering that every single time, but hey, and found out exactly how much of a dirtbag Stephen Powell was. Investigators discovered home films that Stephen Powell had secretly recorded of his daughter-in-law's body parts. One can easily figure out exactly which body parts those were. And video diaries in which he smelled her underwear and expressed his love and sexual feelings towards her. Not only that, because that is not enough. Just shithousery and dirtbaggery from Stephen Powell. Prosecutors said that the search also turned up dozens of computer disks with pictures of women and young girls that were centered around their private areas. Police would arrest Stephen Powell in November 2011 and charge him with voyeurism and possession of child pornography. Oh, Stephen.
Oh, Stephen.
Stephen.
Cool, bro.
No.
Yeah, and then I bet Josh was there like, no, that's just Dad. Don't worry about it. He does this kind of shit all the time.
Yeah, I think he was an accessory in the tapes and stuff. I'm pretty sure I read that he was an accessory in that. So
if at any point,
life
hack number 3 of this episode, if at any point you're questioning how to help your dad get his rocks off, just reconsider your life. Like, just make a change.
Yeah, exactly. Stephen was found guilty of voyeurism in June 2012 and was given a 2.5-year prison sentence. The charge of possessing child pornography was dropped by the trial court in 2012, but it was brought back by the state's Court of Appeals in 2014. So he was found guilty in 2015 of possessing child pornography, and he was sentenced to a whopping, an absolute whopping additional 2 years in prison. He was freed from prison in 2017 after spending, for voyeurism and child pornography, 7 years in jail for it.
Yeah.
To find him guilty of the child pornography charges and then just give him a 2 year, that's essentially, we found child porn, we're going to slap you on the wrist for it, and we're just going to give you another few years. You'll be out in 7, it's fine.
That's not a slap on the wrist offence, really.
No.
It's a...
No, absolutely not.
I don't know.
Absolutely not.
I don't even know what correct punishment for that should be, but... Bluff is
it's not even
enough.
Not even... Yeah. It's not even enough time for his cellmates to figure out that he had a bunch of child porn and then kick his fucking head in for it, which is unfortunate. But so while Josh's dad would suffer the consequences, albeit very soft consequences for his crimes, Josh himself would take quite drastic action to make sure that Susan's disappearance could not be pinned on himself. And this is probably where I'm going to start getting a little bit ranty, to be honest.
Okay.
You'll find out why. On February the 5th, around 12:30 p.m., Josh's children, he had lost custody of his children at this point, and I believe Susan's parents were sort of the acting parents, I guess, of the children, but Josh would get regular supervised visitation, and Josh's children were brought over to his house for one of his scheduled supervised visits by social worker Elizabeth Griffin. However, neither Elizabeth nor Braden nor Charles could have expected the events that would follow. When arriving at the house, Elizabeth would call 911 after Josh would grab his children and lock Elizabeth out of the house and not open the front door. While on the phone with the dispatcher, a highly concerned Elizabeth would state that she could smell gasoline and would plead for the police to be sent to the home as soon as possible. And if you've guessed what happens next, you're very sadly likely correct. And that's because before the police were dispatched, and while Elizabeth was asked question after question after useless question by the dispatcher, the house would explode. And obviously result in Josh losing his life, but also his children, who were 5 and 7 years old, to also perish as well. Which, like, we talk about some pretty horrific things on this podcast. We've talked about rapists. We've talked about, serial killers. We covered the Sylvia Likens case, which is very easily one of the most horrific cases of sustained abuse that I've ever come across in my life. But when you kill children, but not only children, your own children, I think that puts you in a different sort of category, I would say, because children can't defend themselves. There was nothing that Charles or Braden could have done. They're fucking 5 and 7 years old. And for whatever reason, and I have my theory, which is that Josh had lost custody of the children, and he was probably eventually going to get caught for, or get charged for, his wife's murder. I don't know if it was a case of, well, if I can't have the children, nobody can have the children. But for whatever reason, Josh decided that a 5-year-old and a 7-year-old were not worthy of living because of his actions. So he decided that they had to die, which is massively upsetting and frustrates me greatly, because Braden and Charles had done nothing. Their only crime was they wanted their mother back, and they wanted a family, or they wanted to be a family. That is their only crime that they had ever committed. And Josh, because he's an absolute dirtbag, decided that a 5-year-old and a 7-year-old had to die. And I would never normally say this, but if you want to kill yourself because you're a nonce, your dad's a nonce, you killed your wife and you're probably going to get caught for it, fine. I would never say that, but Josh is a piece of shit, so I really wouldn't care like that he killed himself.
Yeah.
But the how dare you decide that Braden and Charles had to die as well? How dare you take your children with you? Like, that's my rant about that whole situation. But it's just,
and it's a totally valid rant. I think it's completely valid. It's I don't know, unless this man is someone who, I know that he was religious and he maybe genuinely believes that his family or his children are going with him to the afterlife. I don't understand what you gain from doing.
No.
That it's just pure malice and spite and
yeah.
I don't know. We talk about this a lot, and I think this is again one of the reasons that we haven't come round to this point in a while. We do come round to it quite often, in cases that we find particularly horrific or whatever. But I don't think we've come to this conclusion for a little while. And I think one of the things that draws us, me and you, but a lot of people, and probably a lot of the people listening, to true crime is because we're fascinated by people that are so different from us. Like, you and I,
Mhm.
we couldn't, I mean, neither of us are parents, but I couldn't comprehend choosing to take anyone else's life, let alone a child's life. So someone that
Yeah.
has just gone, do you know what? I want to die, so I'm going to take these 2 kids with me, is so far out of what
Yeah.
to us is acceptable and the norm that we're
Yeah.
fascinated by it.
Yeah.
And that's why we do
Yeah.
what we do,
Yeah.
and people listen to true crime and watch true crime documentaries, because we just can't relate to
No.
these people.
No. No. Absolutely not. And like I said, I don't know, for the life of me, I don't know why the kids had to die. You know, yeah, why? Like I said, they're 5 and 7 years old. It's not like they can defend themselves. They could do absolutely nothing against a grown-ass fucking man. And like you said, maybe because he was religious, he thought that he was doing
Yeah.
the
That's the only
right
thing I can
thing.
think of. That's the only thing you gain out of doing it. I can't think of any other reason
Yeah,
that would be
yeah.
beneficial to you.
And speaking on religion, I'm obviously not religious. I'm not. I don't know if I would say I'm an atheist. I'm not religious. I don't belong to any sort of religious
No.
mentality. And I don't believe in heaven, and I don't believe in hell. But if there is a hell, then I hope Josh Powell is down there and he's getting tortured in the absolute worst possible way for a
Absolutely.
very, very long time. Following a relatively short inquiry, officials confirmed that the explosion obviously, unsurprisingly, had been planned deliberately. Josh and the two boys' official causes of death was found to be carbon monoxide poisoning. However, if killing your kids in an explosion wasn't bad enough, the coroner also saw that both the children had severe head and neck chop wounds as well. And that's because a hatchet was recovered near Josh's body. And investigators believe that he used the hatchet to incapacitate the boys before being overwhelmed by the smoke and the fumes. So he decided that he would chop his kids up before he let them die in a fucking explosion. For some
Well,
reason.
presumably
The
it
only
sounds
reason,
like they were trying to get out. Like they were trying to run. I think
probably,
even if you are that young, you know when something is bad and something is dangerous. You're told that fire is dangerous, so they were probably trying to run.
yeah.
And he stopped them.
And again, it's I said that there was nothing that they could have done, and this just reinforces the point that they're 5 and 7. When their dad's fucking chopping them up with a hatchet, they can do absolutely nothing to defend themselves against that. Absolutely nothing. And the only thing that I could think of when I was writing this up was this was some warped thing of, if I kill them before they, choke to death on carbon monoxide, it's going to be, sparing them some pain or something. That's the only thing that I can think of. But it's just so cruel and like you said, it's just so full of malice. Not only that you can do that to another human, not only that you can do that to a child, but that's your child. That's your flesh. That's your blood. And like we said, we're not parents, but we couldn't even imagine doing that to our own children.
What a piece of shit.
So yeah, just a sad, yeah, absolute. And now you probably can understand why I was like, this guy is a fucking.
I mean, like for the listeners,
absolute shit stain.
We don't tell. We probably say this every episode at some point. We don't tell each other what our cases are going to be prior to recording. We like it to be a surprise for the other person. But all Dom did tell me twice about this particular case is that this guy's a piece of shit. And I was like, okay. I mean, that's not out of the ordinary. We deal with a lot of pieces of shit.
Yeah.
So I was kind of half expecting a normal standard piece of shit, not a
standard serial killer.
An extra piece of shit.
Yeah. So this is sort of a side note, because it was unbelievable. That the whole 911 call is unbelievable. So the dispatcher that Elizabeth was pleading with on the phone, begging with to send help, telling them she smelled gasoline, telling them that Josh had locked the door and wasn't opening it and wasn't letting her in, didn't dispatch anyone for 8 minutes. And it would take an additional 13 minutes for police to arrive at the scene. And that's because this call, Amy, was put in as a low priority call. Low priority. So, while...
Difficult, isn't it? Because I don't... Obviously, that's terrible. Like, if there's a woman outside saying that she can smell gasoline and she knows there's children in the house, it's not low priority. But I do sort of empathize in a way with dispatchers because they're going off of what they're being told. And if you took away the fact that the house smells of gasoline and she suspects that something's up, then essentially what you're dealing with is a man in a house with his children. It's a very domestic thing, and probably not something that the police would prioritize if there's like a burglary going on somewhere or someone's being held at gunpoint. Those sorts of things are going to take precedent. As soon as they mentioned that the house smelled of gasoline, they probably should have dispatched someone. Even if it wasn't deemed right to be the police, get a fucking fire brigade or someone that can deal with that side of things. But if it is just a case that, I mean, you can picture it, a woman on the phone, her job is or their job, I don't know, whoever, is to assess these situations as they come in. It's a family member being refused entry to a house, but in that house is a father and his kids, and that's a very normal thing. And the person outside isn't someone that can take those kids away. Like it's not their mother. Well, obviously it's not their mother in this case, but if it was the mother outside, it might be different, but it's not. So I'm not, defending the fact that it took long, but I kind of get why initially it might have been low. It might have been considered low priority.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably not the stance you were expecting me to take.
Yeah.
But it's, having an emergency service dispatch job can't be easy when you're not there and seeing what's happening.
No. I think for me it was just the fact that for 8 minutes he was asking, like, and the 911 call is on YouTube, like the entire 911 call. And it's the most frustrating thing in the world to listen to because, he, the dispatcher, I believe his name was David Lovrak, was, for 8 minutes just asking questions like, why are you there for a supervised visit? How do you fit into the equation and all of this other stuff? And it's just like, she's told you that she smells gasoline, that he's taken the kids and locked them in the house. Surely that is enough for you to send someone, maybe not police, but at least somebody. And for an additional 13 minutes for police to arrive after the 8 minutes already. So that's 21 minutes she was on the phone, and nobody came. And
that is ridiculous.
It's just like, come on, guys, like, what are you doing? And obviously, unbeknownst to the dispatcher, one of the most horrific aspects of the fact that no one was dispatched for 8 minutes was that Josh was bludgeoning his kids to death with a hatchet for those 8 minutes while nobody was coming to the house. Which is massively upsetting. So, as said, the dispatcher, David Lovrak, was reprimanded according to a CNN article from 2012. The article states that Lovrak expressed confusion about how the social worker who had accompanied the kids to Powell's house for a supervised visit, quote, fit into the equation. Does it matter? I mean, she fits. Yeah, like, one, does it matter? And two, she fits into the equation because she was supervising a visit as a social worker.
Yeah. It's not difficult to work out, really, is it?
It's not, is it? Let's be honest. The operator was also criticised for responding to the caller's question of, quote, how long will it be? With the answer, quote, I don't know, ma'am. They have to respond to emergencies, life-threatening situations first. As I said, the 911 call is on YouTube, like the entire thing. It's the most frustrating thing I think I've ever listened to in my life. It got me so angry. So you can listen to it, but just a heads up, it's probably going to get you extremely frustrated. So Woodbine Cemetery, where their mother is commemorated, is the resting place of Charles and Braden. Obviously, Susan herself has never been located, and remains have never been discovered. The Cox family filed a lawsuit against the Washington, so that's the family of Susan, filed a lawsuit against the Washington Department of Social and Health Services, or the DSHS, and its social workers, alleging that the organization allowed Charlie and Braden to die by putting Joshua's parental rights ahead of Charles and Braden's safety. A federal court granted the defendants summary judgment in 2015, finding that the DHCS were not negligent and the social workers were entitled to immunity. 2009 saw a partial reversal of that finding by an appeals court, which held that while the social workers were immune, the matter of the department's negligence could go to trial. And in 2020, during that trial, a jury would find the State Department of Social Health and Services were indeed negligent in the deaths of Charlie and Braden. The jury's verdict included an award of $98 million to the boys' estates. Additionally, Susan's family put pressure on state legislators in Utah and Washington to enact laws that would limit or prohibit parental rights to visitation in cases when they are being investigated for murder. Which just sounds like a fucking common sense law. Yeah. Like, why did that need to be pressured into being a thing? Yeah. That's wild. How that wasn't just a common sense law that was in place already. So, though Susan has been missing for 14 years, Josh Powell's sister, Jennifer Graves, said Susan Powell's story, quote, will continue to live on and inspire others to move in the right direction, to move towards good relationships and get out of bad situations, abusive situations. And that is our episode about Josh Powell and Susan Powell and the Powell family tragedy. Amy, what do you think? How did you find that?
Yeah, I mean, it's not an easy one, is it? It was a game of two halves there. I think the first half, we were very much able to joke about it and you know, take the piss a little bit that his dad's a bit of a creep and you know, he's probably had a bit of a weird upbringing. The second half is evidence as to how that weird upbringing can manifest itself in a very negative way in later life. And
yeah,
Lanzay will will never understand why, not just Josh Powell, but a lot of the people that we cover do the things that they do, particularly to their own children. Will never understand. I, for one, never want to understand, because with that understanding comes, honestly, I think an acknowledgement of an evil that I just don't want to know exists. It's not, I'm not going to sleep any easier and knowing that there are genuine people
Yeah.
there. It's,
Yeah.
like I said, I think the job that the emergency services have is very, very hard. And all of those, all emergency services are very, very strong. And I think that pretty much goes for anywhere in the world. Like in the UK, absolutely. In the US, absolutely. They are spreading a very, very minuscule amount of butter over way too much bread. So there has to be a point where they prioritize the calls that they're getting. However, in that situation, all you really need to know is why that person has called 911. And the reason why that person has called 911 was stated very, very early on. There is a man who is maybe not in his right mind, locked in a house with 2 children that smells of gasoline. That's it.
Yeah.
You don't need to know. If that was a stranger walking past on the street who had just seen that, so what? It's not who that person is, it's what they're saying that needs responding to.
Yeah.
So 8 minutes of questions about who the caller is and why they're related to the situation is irrelevant. Just get someone there. And it might cost a bit of money to get a fire engine or the police squad car out. But in this scenario, it might have stopped him. It might have saved those kids' lives. It might have, not this is the way around you want to do it, because obviously he took a hatchet to the kids, but it might have saved Josh's life. Someone might have been saved in that situation.
Yeah.
If they'd have just gotten anyone to the house. But because he was asking those mundane questions, it didn't happen. And that's not, I think, possibly excusable. When you're trained to do that job, that's not excusable. 8 minutes could have been the difference between all or at least one of the people in the house surviving. And it didn't happen.
Yeah. And obviously this isn't the way to look at it, but, even if they saved Josh, at least Josh could then face justice, because he didn't face justice. He killed his kids, he likely killed his wife, and he got away with it because he killed himself and no one came to the house before it exploded.
And the sad thing about it is that he probably took the knowledge of where Susan was, where her body was, to the grave with him. So there's just this open book of unresolved stuff for that family as well. And it's a very, very cowardly way out on his part. Particularly when you take other people with you.
Linking back to our true crime update, now Susan Powell's family is not going to get any closure because there was only one person, likely one person, that knew where her body was, and that's Josh. And that knowledge dies with him. So, yes, they got a sizable compensation, monetary compensation, and obviously put pressure on legislators to enact laws. They're never going to know where their daughter is because no one else knows apart from the person that did it, and because he's a fucking dickhead coward, killed himself and his kids. So a very unfortunate situation all around, really. So Amy, it's not been the most jolly episode in the world. But do you want to see us out for this week?
Absolutely. Yeah, even I'm going to struggle to bring this back around. But yes, thank you for listening to that with us. Thank you for going on that roller coaster with us, because it certainly was one. We, as always, appreciate that you have hundreds, if not thousands, of options of podcasts that you could listen to, let alone things that you could be doing with your time. So we will never cease to appreciate the fact that you decide to listen to us. And that, if you are a regular listener, will know is about as nice as I get. So thanks for joining us. If you would like to, it really is. If you would like to support us, you can do so. You can do that by leaving a comment on the episode on Spotify, leave us a review on your podcasting app of choice. If you're joining us on YouTube, firstly, hey, and secondly, hit subscribe. We are doing good with subscribers, but we would like more. We would like to expand our YouTube family. Yeah. So please join us and, do notification. What to do on YouTube? I don't know. Subscribe, do notifications, whatever, really. Comment.
Yeah.
Like it.
Pretty much.
If there's a button, click it. Whatever. Thank you for your
support. Not the thumbs down, though. Don't
not that one.
Hit that.
That's
hit
a bad one.
Up.
Click all of the good buttons. if it looks happy and friendly, click it. If you want to support us, I can't even speak now. If you want to support us financially, you can do so by clicking the Buy Me a Coffee link and slinging us a bit of wonga for some coffee. If you want to recommend us to a friend, be nice.
Yes.
That's it.
Absolutely. Sorry, I'm hijacking your wrap up for just 2 seconds.
Go for it.
Speaking of recommendations, Leo and Stephen recently have done a lot of shout outs for us in their episodes. I think there was 4 episodes recently, and 2 or 3 of them had shout outs to us at the end. So I meant to say this 3 episodes ago, but I kept forgetting every single time. Thank you, Leo and Stephen, for the love. Thank you for continually supporting us, and also for plugging the shit out of our most recent collaboration episode, which if you haven't listened to, please do. But also listen to Leo and Stephen, because they are wonderful and they have a wonderful, wonderful show. So thank you for the love. But also, in addition to that, Brie and Dyson at Dark Adaptation are now not on hiatus anymore. They are releasing new episodes again. So please go and listen to Dark Adaptation. They are wonderful. We will have them back on our show, because the first time round went a little bit wrong.
The lost episode.
We'll have them back. The lost episode, yeah.
But hey, we had a great time recording it. We had a really fun time. We loved hanging out with Brie and Dyson, but unfortunately, the internet didn't love that happening, and we lost our episode to the ether. But yeah, let's do it again, because that was fun. Yes, and like I said, they are no longer on a break. We were on a break. But they're no longer on a break. So show them some love. Anyway, Amy, sorry, back to you. I hijacked you for a little bit. It's all right. It was a wordy hijack. Funny how the boys at Spoilers for Horror have one episode with me, and suddenly they can't stop talking about that. Suspicious, I think.
I mean, they did say that they're happy to record with you any time, but I have to book an appointment apparently. So I know where I stand now.
Okay. You'll be all right. So yes, please do go check out Spoilers of Horror and Dark Adaptation. And until next time, stay spooky.
Stay spooky. Awful, man.
I am
Awful man.
emotionally
Fuck you, Josh
drained.
Powell. I know. We said it so many times in the episode, but man, just Stephen Powell and Josh's reaction to his dad is, I couldn't get over that. But I was like, oh my god, Jesus, unbelievable.
I just, every time we talk about it, I lose the ability to speak and I just make noises because I'm so grossed out.
Please don't try and fuck your daughter-in-law. Just don't do it.
Well, that
Just,
part didn't really need saying, did it?
Well, Stephen obviously didn't realise that. Someone should have told him.
Oh,